And what was your initial revenue strategy? I think that's another place where people get caught up. It's this idea of, I know that I want to start a business, but I don't know that it can make money.
Yep.
So what did you decide in your head, and has your revenue model changed since you launched this business?
Sure. It first started out solely as one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
And
in person?
In person, but actually it started with people you know.
Yeah, sure.
Not necessarily as clients, but then they would tell other people, and it would go on like that. So in person, and quite frankly, about half the time then and almost full time now, it's all by phone or Skype.
So you're location independent. You don't have to be here in Asia.
Exactly.
You could be aware. Okay.
Exactly.
That's really
and nobody has to travel for a meeting, and all the all the advantages of places like GoToMeeting and sponsors like that.
Yeah. So. I didn't pay him to say that. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So it's that's how it started, and then obviously part of helping men with their businesses or to start a business or executives to get to that next level, I needed to refresh myself on what's been happening in marketing in the last 5 years.
Yeah, sure.
So I, pretty serious 18 months nose to the grindstone on what is all the new digital space like, where is it going, what do we need to do to help people, and because those were questions I was getting asked by businessmen.
Sure.
It's like, do I take this social media stuff for real?
Yeah.
What do I do with it?
You're not only using it for your own business, you're actually coaching other people, and this is how you can use new media tools and new marketing tools to start your business.
Yeah, as much as I can. It's I have a certain focus on that, but I also, there's more to it than that.
Yeah, sure.
It's a bright shiny object right now.
Yeah.
So everybody's putting their focus on it, but the old marketing principles of relationship building still at the core of everything.
Yeah. And what about one thing that I talked to Chris Gillibo about, and I've talked to I think Pam Slim as well, that I think they do really well, and I think you do really well as well, which is the importance of message. Your message is pretty crystal clear when you go on your site. Whereas some people might just have their name and then it's kind of vague and you have to do a lot of digging. You kind of have yours right there on the front.
Yeah.
How important do you feel for somebody going into business right now, particularly doing something like what you're doing, consulting, strategy work, things like that, to have a message?
I think it's critical, and I think some people are reticent as far as choosing their message and reticent about choosing their target market, and the problem is everything gets washed away and you become wallpaper. So I'm very into being specific. I think from a marketing perspective you have to be fairly specific with your target market to start with anyway.
Sure.
And then you can go beyond that, and your message, and my message can be general in one sense as far as it's your life. What are you waiting for? I'll help you if I can. If I can't, someone else will.
Yeah.
Choose what you need to do, find what it is, and start doing it, because that's where the happiness comes from.
Sure. But it attracts a certain type of person. For instance, I look at your site and I'm immediately gravitated towards it, because that's the, I kind of, so tell me real quick, I just want to go back to something you said earlier, which was when you started out, you started working with friends. I think beginning entrepreneurs, and I always say this, when talking to people, they said, "Oh, how did you get your first paid gigs?" And I said, "I did free ones." The first project we ever worked on was this free project that we worked on, but it gave us the ability to be creative, and they were happy. And we treated them like clients. Do you find the same thing? Is that kind of your advice to people? And did you do that?
Yeah, I definitely did. And, it's a way to get your feet wet and get experience and get going on defining what your message really is.
Yeah, sure.
So definitely. And then as a business and personal coach too, it's a lot of what many of us do is offer some free sessions to people to see if they're interested, to see if there's a fit.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to. Some people just don't jive together.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of that too, especially in the early days.
Yeah.
And that gives you experience, and that teaches you this and that.
And tell me about Freedom Air, because I love the concept. I saw it on the site. Now I'm holding the PDF. I'm going to read it while driving. Hopefully, don't get in an accident. Tell me about it. What's the concept? And what can people learn from it?
Freedom Air is a term I've come up with where I took what was most important to me in my life, which is freedom, and combined it with the old goal of everyone wanting to be a millionaire. Which I think is a lot of people are way past that now. Yeah. And I know I was through my whole experience of doing something that I loved and making less than half the money, but loving life. So freedom air is my
It's
term
like
that I put
hybrid
together.
shirt, yeah.
Term that I put together, and the manifesto, the ebook is really about creating and living the life that you imagined. Because I know a lot of us get to a point where we're thinking about life and going, this wasn't the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of us get to a point too where we lose hope. And I think that I've learned.
I did.
Yeah.
I know what that's like, sure.
And once you go through it, you realize don't write anybody off. Don't write yourself off. Because somewhere, if you make it through, whatever that tough point is, there is going to be, that nugget that you can grab onto, a little piece of faith, and you can make your moves. It's not easy, but you know what? Working for someone else at something you hate with people that you don't care for, doing whatever you don't like, that's pretty hard too.
Yeah, that ain't no cakewalk.
That's damn hard.
Yeah, sure.
So that's what Freedom Air is. It's the opening kind of salvo for me on not just men. This is for men and women too, to say, here's a look at one way to do it.
Yeah.
And here's what I learned through my experience and my story. Here's what I've learned from all the people I've studied with and my coaches and that stuff like that. And here it is on paper as a first step with some how-to.
That's awesome.
Because it matters that it's not all inspiration and motivation. There needs to be education and I say a foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And piggybacking off of that, and last question regarding entrepreneurs and whatnot, if somebody's sitting in their desk now and they were to call you right now and would just want a couple tips of what they should do to start that pivot from corporate world to freedom, what would you tell them? What would be your tips from your experience and things that you've learned? Like, what should you start doing right now if you're like me?
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, it becomes fairly simple. Not easy, but simple. And the first step has really got to be about what people talk about when they talk about your passions. But what I found is, and I don't know if this is especially for men, it may be for women too, but especially for men, we have a lot of stuff going on in our heads that we think we're passionate about. And it's really hard to excavate the real stuff from the real you that's been buried for a lot of years.
Yeah. Behind all the social scripts.
Exactly. And it's what you should be doing, what you have to do. And I'm not saying shirk responsibilities for family, because that's the most important thing there is.
Absolutely.
But there's also, nothing is ever cut and dried.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but what are we talking about here? We're talking about your life. So by you making moves, you'll inspire others and go on from there. But really, back to your point, it's finding that passion. There's a number of ways to do that. One of the books I recommend is The Passion Test. And not everything can be learned from a book. Some people I've worked with go through this process of trying to figure out what they're passionate about first, and they get it. They've got it.
Yeah.
Other people, months. But it's still worth the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one's not better than the other. It took me a long time. And then you gotta shed some of these old views of yourself and how other people view you. Now you're making $12 an hour in Costco when you were making 6 figures and had a nice big title and was traveling all over the place. Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you, then part of finding your passion is sincerely questioning cultural, social scripts, the exoskeleton that you put on yourself, maybe at school or whatever, family, friends, whoever puts on you.
And it's tough.
Yeah.
Everyone, it looks like it might be easy, but for all of us that have done it, it's not.
It's really hard. Sure.
So passion is the place to start, and I really think that purpose can come out of passion then. And purpose for me involves whatever is right for you and how that helps other people. It took me years to learn that, but helping others is the big payback for you. And it grows your business and it does all these other things which are self-serving. But the fact of the matter is, if you're just an island out there and getting stuff for me, it's not worth anything.
Yeah, sure.
So a lot of us are having this wake up.
Yeah. It feels like that's what I've been talking about is revolution of the remarkable misfits, and it feels like people are just waking up. It's cool to hear and talk to you about what's next for you, dude. This next year, like what's going to be on your plate? What are you doing?
Well, definitely Think Tank Men is expanding like crazy. I mean, I don't want to build an organization. I just want it to be me and my virtual assistants.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing more one-on-one coaching, but I've got some other things coming on, like more group stuff and mastermind groups for men and
courses
that kind of stuff.
and ebooks.
Yeah, courses and ebooks and things that will help.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff that's free, some stuff that's paid.
Cool.
I do a bunch of speaking too. So I want to advance the speaking. I'm
Yeah.
getting more opportunities to do that, so that's good. And then the Freedom Air stuff, probably in a couple of weeks, hopefully. TheFreedomAir.com will be up, and
Awesome.
I'll have the manifesto up there for everyone to see and to give comments. And I really want to make it interactive, like a website where you go on and say, okay, but how did you do this, or how do I do this, more
Right.
importantly.
So
And
it's
then
not just-
myself, and I want to bring in other authors to say, well, my story isn't your story, but here's some things that you may want to think about.
Yeah, sure.
Because, like you said, everybody's waking up. That's why I call it the Freedom Air Revolution. Same thing, right? You call yours a revolution too. It is. Everyone is waking up and taking steps forward. So,
And where can people find you on the web, on the Twitters, if they want to hit you up?
thinktankmen.com is my main site right now. At Michael Van Osch on Twitter and Facebook and all those good places.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks for being with us. We
Hey.
really, really appreciate it, dude.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.